This is the story of a people scattered, broken, still standing strong.
Welcome back, everyone, to We Remember. Today, we're doing something a little different, something deeply important. We're talking about a book that isn't just a book, but a profound act of defiance against silence, a testament to remembrance. It's called The Orphans of Silence.
John, when I first read about this project, it hit me right in the chest. This isn't just storytelling. It's almost like archaeology of the soul, digging up what history tried to bury. The author says it's the return of a name. That's so powerful.
It truly is. A name, a person, dragged into 1967 and never allowed to come back out. That phrase, never allowed to come back out, it just hangs there, doesn't it? It speaks volumes about the Biafran War, a conflict many in the world looked away from and sadly continue to overlook.
And the idea that this name, this life, never finished becoming a person, that it learned hunger before laughter. That's a universal tragedy, isn't it? The stolen potential, the lives cut short not just by death, but by the erasure of their memory. It makes you really think about the cost of war beyond just statistics.
Absolutely, Levi. The author makes it clear he didn't write this book to remember, because remembering never stopped. It's a statement that rings so true for anyone who's experienced a profound loss that the world might have moved on from, but you haven't.
Of silence, the Igbo story, orphans of silence.
It's like carrying an invisible burden. And the way they describe it, a child carrying the bones of forgotten men cannot fail. Because bones do not negotiate. They do not soften with time. They press, they rattle, they insist. That's such a visceral image of persistent grief, of an undeniable truth demanding to be heard.
That passage really highlights the relentless nature of unresolved history. You can try to move on, but these truths, these bones, they don't allow it. They rattle in the collective consciousness until they're addressed. And for the author, it was personal. His father was a Biafran soldier who didn't return.
And that sentence, he did not return, it doesn't end, right? It trails, it echoes, it lives in the hollow places of the house. That's a feeling so many families of missing persons from conflicts, from any kind of disappearance, can relate to. That constant, lingering question mark over a life.
It's the lack of closure, isn't it? The kind that seals wounds, that lets the dead rest, that allows the living to sleep. This isn't just about a historical event, it's about the very human need for an ending, for understanding, for dignity, even in death.
And it wasn't just his father. Other relatives, brilliant, promising, unfinished, also didn't return. Men whose futures were still warm, whose lives were cut mid-step, mid-breath, mid-sentence. That line, men who should have grown old enough to become inconvenient, to argue, to fail, to forgive, to be forgiven. It just captures the full spectrum of what was lost.
Instead, they became absence, photographs that never age, a silence that learned how to sit at the table and eat with the living. That's such a haunting description of how grief infiltrates every part of life, making the unspoken almost tangible.
Cry out loud, years buried in fear, children seeking for their future. Who will speak for us?
It's not just the killing of bodies, but the creation of wandering grief, as the author calls it. Grief with no grave, grief with no date to stop. That's a unique kind of pain, isn't it? When there's no physical place to mourn, no concrete endpoint to the sorrow.
And this wandering grief manifested itself in a very specific way for the author. Footsteps. Not imagined, not theatrical, but footsteps that paused when he paused, circled when he tried to sleep, like reminders rather than threats, like something unfinished, waiting for language.
I can only imagine that feeling, waking up and listening, holding your breath, waiting for an explanation that never comes. Only the wait. It's a powerful impulse, that need for understanding, for a narrative to make sense of the senseless.
So, he began to write. And it wasn't as therapy or performance, but as obedience. That's a crucial distinction. It implies a higher calling, a duty to these voices that wouldn't be ignored. Some stories, as he says, don't ask permission. They arrive heavy, they sit in your chest.
It's like the story itself chose him, not the other way around. He's not writing alone. The spirits of 1967 walk beside my pen. Not as spectacle, but as pressure, as gravity. A relentless demand, do not let us be buried twice, once in the ground and again in the world's forgetting.
That's such a profound statement, isn't it? The fear of the second burial, the erasure from memory. It's what makes books like The Orphans of Silence so vital. They resist that second burial.
And the impact of this act of writing is incredible. He says that since the publication of The Orphans of Silence, those footsteps have stopped. And he says it carefully, reverently, as if something that had been wandering finally heard itself spoken, as if names, once returned to language, no longer needed to roam.
That's a form of healing, both for the living and, in a symbolic sense, for the dead. It suggests that witness, that acknowledgement, can bring a kind of peace that time alone often can't. It's giving voice to the voiceless, dignity to the undignified.
The Igbo story, orphans of silence, children of hunger, mothers of tears. We left our story for our enemies to tell.
It's about the dead deserving more than pity, more than anniversaries. They deserve witness. They deserve to be counted in a world that benefited from not counting them. That line about benefited from not counting them really hits home. It speaks to the uncomfortable truths behind historical amnesia.
It's a call to action for all of us, isn't it? If you're listening now, you're not outside the story, you're inside the circle of hearing. We all have a role in ensuring these stories are not forgotten, that these lives are remembered.
And the beauty of it is that this book, this story, is accessible. The Orphans of Silences is available on Amazon, in all major bookstores worldwide, both online and offline. The audio edition is even published by Apple, and the full podcast series on Spotify.
And it's expanding its reach even further, soon to be a radio program. That's exactly what these stories need, to travel further than silence ever intended, to reach new ears, new hearts, new minds.
Because this isn't a book written to be praised. It's a book written so the dead would stop knocking. That's the ultimate purpose, isn't it? To bring peace, to provide that acknowledgement that was denied for so long. To say, we see you, we hear you.
If history tried to bury them, then the living must refuse the burial. That's the powerful message we're left with today. Be a voice for the dead. Find the Orphans of Silences and let their stories continue to be heard. Thank you for joining us on this very special edition of We Remember.
Thank you, John. And to our listeners, please do seek out this book. It's more than a read, it's an experience, a vital act of human connection and remembrance. We owe it to the Orphans of Silence to listen.
Indeed, Gianna. It's a powerful reminder that history isn't just dates and names, but the lingering echoes of lives lived and lost, waiting for someone to finally tell their story. This book does just that.
Absolutely. Let's make sure those names, those lives, are never buried twice. Until next time, keep remembering, keep listening, and keep speaking truth to power and silence.
This is the story of a people scattered, broken, still standing strong. A war the world moved past, but it never left our hearts. Orphans of silence, the Igbo story. Orphans of silence, children died of hunger, mothers with tears. Orphans of silence, names lost in shallow graves, years buried in fear, because we left our story for our enemies to tell. Cry out loud, years buried in fear, children seeking for their future. Who will speak for us? No more silence. Orphans of silence, the Igbo story. Orphans of silence, children died of hunger, mothers with tears. Orphans of silence, names lost in shallow graves, years buried in fear, because we left our story for our enemies to tell. We carry the ones who were taken in the cracks of our voices. Their names a war that never ends, but the blood still remembers its way. Orphans of silence, the Igbo story. Orphans of silence, children of hunger, mothers of tears. Orphans of silence, names lost in shallow graves, years buried in fear, because we left our story for our enemies.